In 1986, Manchester United was at a crossroad, a club of history and of glory, but decades of inconsistency had left fans restless and impatient. The board made a bold choice: Alex Ferguson. A man from Scotland and unknown to many, yet determined, relentless, and willing to endure scrutiny that would crush lesser managers. Could he truly rebuild a sleeping giant? The early years of Alex Ferguson were harsh. Losses piled up and defeats felt like disaster. But Ferguson believed in vision over instant result. He promoted youth and demanded discipline. Players like Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, and Gary Neville emerged, ready to embrace responsibility. Every decision of Ferguson was analysed by the media, dissected by the fans, and magnified across England. Therefore, his patience was tested daily, and yet he refused to compromise his methods even when results looked bleak. This was no ordinary challenge. The stakes were enormous. By 1990, Ferguson won the FA Cup, and this signaled a turning point. The confidence in the team had returned, and hope among fans had returned. Momentum was gathering. But the newly formed Premier League demanded more than trophies. It demanded dominance, consistency, and fear among every opponent. Ferguson began to build a dynasty one season at a time, replacing aging stars with hungry young talent while never lowering the standards. Matches became battles of wit, stamina, and nerves. Therefore, every victory reinforced the culture of winning, and every loss became a lesson rather than a disaster. The stage was being set for one of football's greatest eras. The 1990s became a golden decade. In 1993, 1994, and 1996, Ferguson stacked the league titles like bricks in a fortress. And in 1999, he won the treble, winning the Premier League, the FA Cup, and Champions League. This was unthinkable at the time. But it wasn't just the trophies that defined the era. It was the moment of drama, comebacks in the dying seconds, and players who became legends overnight. Players like Ole Gunnar scored when time seemed to have frozen, and Roy Keane led the team with unyielding intensity. Opponents were viewed as villains, and fans had their heroes. Therefore, Manchester United was no longer just a team, it was an institution feared by their rivals and adored by millions worldwide. But even greatness faces its trials. The 2000s brought a new threat. Teams began to pick up. Arsenal went unbeaten in 2003-2004. Chelsea invested heavily and transformed into a powerhouse overnight. But Alex Ferguson adapted. He evolved his tactics and trusted youth and made shrewd transfers that others doubted. Every season was like a chess game. He strategized against opponents, managed egos, balanced form, injuries, and the constant pressure of expectation. Therefore, Manchester United maintained their grip at the top, even when the challenge seemed insurmountable. Every hero had a rival to overcome, and Alex Ferguson certainly overcame his. It was during this time that legends like Giggs, Paul Scholes, Roy Keane, and Cristiano Ronaldo emerged. Ferguson molded talent into triumph, turning potential into performance and mistakes into lessons. Matches were won in the 90th minute, and champions were forged in adversity. Therefore, the Ferguson era became about more than just silverware. It became about character, resilience, and belief. Every hero had their tests, and every legend their challenge. The 2010s brought intensified competition. Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool pushed relentless, but Ferguson, seasoned and wise, guided his team with an unmatched experience. By 2013, he won his last Premier League title, and his last match was a victory against Swansea. An era had concluded, not with a whisper but with a loud roar, leaving a legacy unmatched in English football. And as he left the touchline, the world knew football had changed forever. Ferguson's impact was enormous. He didn't just win matches, he defined standards, professionalism, and ambition. And his departure definitely created a vacuum. Every successor of his would face the shadow of the man who had conquered leagues, cups, and hearts alike. The expectation of excellence became a burden as much as it was a privilege. This is why the Ferguson era is remembered not only for trophies, but for identity, culture, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. And every Red Devil knows these lessons remain alive today. His time at the club is arguably the greatest legacy in the club's history. From 1986 to 2013, Manchester United conquered, struggled, adapted, and rose again, but it was never easy, and every triumph had a price. Therefore, the victories, the heroes, and the lessons remained immortal. Ferguson left a blueprint, a dream, a standard, and that standard still guides every Red Devil. The Ferguson era ended, but the legend will never die.